bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault. The next time you have something to say about me, don't cop out through a racist and fake AI video. When I'm back in the Oval Office, say it to my face. Say it to my face.
What do Senate Democrats ask for? Well, initially, they said that they wanted to shut down the government because Donald Trump was a dictator. Okay, that's absurd. Then they said they wanted to shut down the government because they wanted hundreds of billions of dollars for health care benefits for illegal aliens. That, of course, is also absurd. And now they're saying they just want to work on ensuring that Americans have low-cost health care. Well, I agree with them. Of course, we all want to ensure that Americans have low-cost health care, so let's work together on that. You don't shut the government down. You don't take the government as a hostage because you want to engage in a negotiation about health care costs. Let's do that negotiation, but let's do it in the context of actually opening the government and ensuring those essential services are actually provided to the American people.
Boy. So the politicians were not able to agree on keeping the government open. So we have officially entered a government shutdown, at the very least a partial shutdown. And now at this point, it's a pissing match, right? Who can hold out longer, Republicans or Democrats? Who's going to take the blame for the shutdown? Who's going to be hurt the most by this? My gut feeling is that it's going to be Democrats.
And the Democrats are in a real box.
Who's to say they're going to work it out? Because it doesn't really sound like there's a desire to actually work anything out. They just want more time to do the job that they probably should have done,
eventually they have to
3
work
months
it out.
ago.
But the Democrats here are in a box because they are the party disproportionately of government. Their constituencies disproportionately are going to be hurt by a shutdown.
These are Americans. These are Americans who live all over. They live in your state. They live all across the country. Yeah, increasingly in red states because the Trump administration has been moving them to places like Alabama and other parts of the country.
But I'll just make a prediction. The Democrats will fold before the Republicans.
Well, Democrats are great at folding, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
Yeah, again, I personally think the Democrats are going to fold, okay? And one of the reasons why I say this is because the Trump administration has all the leverage, right? Democrats have been pushing this line that Republicans control everything, right? They control the government, they control the House, they control the Senate, they control the White House. So therefore, this shutdown is their fault, even though Democrats are the ones that are refusing to continue to fund the government at its current levels due to the fact that they want health care for illegals to be funded, to be restored. They also want the Obamacare subsidies that went out during the pandemic to be extended, even though we're not in a pandemic anymore. And they want to restore funding for liberal propagandist outlets like PBS and NPR, right? These are non-starters, okay? Republicans should not capitulate to the Democrats and their demands, again, because ultimately, Democrats are the ones that are holding up the government from being open. They're the ones that are currently using the filibuster, which they claim was racist, by the way, in order to stop the government from being funded, okay? So as long as they're doing that, then you know what? While the government's closed, the Trump administration can do a lot of things that Democrats are not going to like. Like, for example, President Trump promised more mass layoffs, but there was a surprise shock move that occurred thanks to the Office of Budget and Management, who just announced that they are going to target the leadership of the Democrat Party, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, specifically when it comes to pet projects, infrastructure projects in their state, which is New York, okay, as the Office of Management and Budget just announced freezing billions of dollars towards infrastructure projects in New York, which is a devastating blow to Democrats. Again, specifically Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries.
Out of Washington this morning, let's get to Emily Wilkins with details. Morning, Emily.
Good morning, Carl. Well, yeah, as the shutdown stretches into its first day, we're getting an interesting update from the head of the Office of Management and Budget. Remember, this is the agency that warned about numerous layoffs and large-scale layoffs. And we know that the head, Russ Vought, is going to be speaking with Republicans a little later today, and we expect him to give more details about plans. But right now, he is tweeting that the roughly $18 billion project in New York City infrastructure projects are being put on hold. This includes the Hudson Tunnel Tunnel project and the 2nd Avenue subway. And look, Voight says on Twitter that these are based on unconstitutional DEI principles. That is what he has said on Twitter. He says more is coming soon, but it's impossible to miss the context here. I mean, these are projects that are taking place in New York. This is the state that Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is from. This is the state that House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is from. And the Hudson Tunnel project is one that Schumer in particular has really pushed and lobbied for. So this is an example, I think, of what we might going to be seeing during this shutdown. The longer it lasts, the more we expect to see cuts in funding, cuts to programs, federal layoffs. And it seems that this is the initial shot across the bow here just a couple hours into the shutdown. Guys?
Yeah, so day one of the shutdown, Democrats are in the find out phase of dealing with the Trump administration, right? We're not playing games, okay? Even though the Trump administration is making this as entertaining as possible, Democrats are melting down, boo-hoo, and crying racism over memes that President Trump continues to post on Truth Social that Democrats have deemed as racist.
That's right. And then what does that shameful man do? After a meeting where you're supposed to be working out details, where you're supposed to be negotiating a deal, you post something that draws a sombrero and a mustache on the leader with whom you're supposed to be.
We heard from the president late tonight on his view, I guess is how I would put it, on how the negotiations at the White House went today. I want to get your reaction to what the president posted.
Look, guys, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us.
Is that appropriate in your view?
Look, I think sometimes the president plays with the press like a little boy and a flashlight and a dog. And he's shining the flashlight here and he's shining it there. What he's saying is this offer from the Democrats is ridiculous. $1.5 trillion on top of funding that they already agreed to. That what they're asking for is completely ridiculous. It's disingenuous. And then for the Democrats to sit there and blame Republicans for the plight of rural hospitals is just so wrong. The problems with rural hospitals would be their policy, not ours.
But couldn't the president just say, these demands are ridiculous, and not post a video with Hakeem Jeffries wearing a sombrero and putting that voice over Senator Schumer talking about people of color and immigrants?
I think he said that several times already. And then for them to come and not to make any really serious offer, why didn't they just say, look, let's just talk about these extra COVID-era subsidies, these extra subsidies that are costing some $35 billion a year. Let's make those just for the people who really need them. Let's go back to the original ACA and make this for people under 400%. They didn't bring us a serious offer there. Look, in my estimation, Chuck Schumer wants the government to shut down to settle a political score.
You may have seen this. I mean, President Trump just moments ago posted pictures from your meeting in the Oval Office where he, I guess, apparently tried to hand you Trump 2028 hats. Then he posted another video, an AI video of you in a sombrero once again. This time he's in the background. You see it, the audience can see it there, as a mariachi band. I think the question I have for you is, do you think that this is even a White House, a president that cares to negotiate in good faith at all? Because it sounds like this meeting that you had this week has only resulted in trolling and not in any serious conversations.
Yeah, see, now you hear that. Now, again, the party of individuals who post memes of J.D. Vance like this. Now, again, I don't know what this is, right? I have no clue whatsoever what Democrats are getting at when they post this meme of J.D. Vance, like a fat J.D. Vance. Like, I don't know what this is, right? But this is a thing in Democrat circles, right? The people who routinely post stuff like this, like, for example, Gavin Newsom, right, posted this. All Democrats have leaned into this. Now they're boo-hooing and crying racism over memes of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer in sombreros looking like Mexicans, right? And the reason why I think the president's doing that is to remind the American people that Democrats are fighting on behalf of illegals, right? That's what they're doing right now, okay? They're shutting down the government for illegals. But yeah, this is the type of stuff that Democrats are into And now they're boohoo-ing and crying foul about President Trump giving them a taste of their own medicine.
Hello and welcome to my show, A History of Couches. I'm your host, JD Vance.
Yeah, again, alluding to the whole JD likes to have sex with couches thing, which again is just something else I really don't get. I really don't understand. I don't understand Democrat humor, right? I do not understand it. I don't think Democrats actually know how to meme.
And we've got a special episode for you today. Some artifacts shape nations, others shape desires, few shape both. The Chesterfield couch is one of them. Commissioned by Lord Philip Stanhope, the 4th Earl of Chesterfield, this sofa was designed for posture, elegance, and control. Deep button tufting, rolled arms, a back and sides of equal height. A design that did not merely support the body, but contained it. Once reserved for aristocrats, the Chesterfield spread into libraries, parlors, and now living rooms worldwide. But its allure has never diminished. There are rumors that I once had an encounter with a Chesterfield. People exaggerate, twist the truth. But when you sit on one, you understand where such stories come from. The Chesterfield isn't just furniture, it's an experience, and some of us know that a little too well. Thank you for watching A History of Couch.
Yeah, so again, I don't get it, right? I really don't get it. I really don't understand it. Maybe Democrat humor is just beyond me, right? I don't know. I personally just think the Democrats aren't funny, right? They aren't funny at all. And I think that's part of the reason why they're losing their minds over these memes that President Trump is putting out, because they're funny, right? Unlike Democrat memes are not funny, right? They're not funny. I don't get them, but I do get what President Trump is doing. And I think what Republicans do, what conservatives do, when we meme, right, when we tell jokes, our jokes are actually funny, right? We're actually funny. Democrats are lame. So anyways, let's chime in on Don Lemon going to MSDNC, BS Now, to boohoo, whine, and cry racism and talk about the shutdown that, again, is the responsibility of Democrats, right? They are shutting down the government because they're the ones that are currently filibustering the Senate and stopping the continuing resolution from being passed in order to keep the government open. So let's get into it.
Lever of government. That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. Trump puts up these attacks. He put up a video. We're not going to show the whole video. For context, I'm just going to show the image, which is this.
Okay, can I say something for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
You said that you usually get worked out. I think you're right. I'm sorry to interrupt you. But I think that you're right. They usually get worked out. But I think this time, the base of the Democratic Party wants the Democrats to fight back. This is a
fight to the end, yeah.
They want them to fight to the end. This is kind of a
Again, I don't know what they're fighting for, right? What are you fighting for? Besides illegal immigrants. Like, let's be real. Republicans are not going to go and undo the Medicaid reforms that they did in a big, beautiful bill. Like, that's just not going to happen. They're not going to do that, right? Now, again, they may extend the Obamacare subsidies that went out during the pandemic, which I don't think they should do, but they might do it. And I don't think they're going to restore funding to PBS and NPR. All of the demands from Democrats are non-starters, right? Like, it's just not going to happen. And it's honestly inappropriate to shut down the government over these things, right? Especially considering how, in my opinion, I think the only legitimate reason to shut down the government is because the government is spending too much, right? But Democrats are trying to shut down the government because they want the government to spend more, right? They boohoo, whine, and cry about the big, beautiful bill costing too much, which, by the way, the costs don't come from the government spending more money. It actually comes from the government taking less of your money, right? The costs come from tax cuts for the middle class and for businesses, okay? And in order to pay for that, the Republicans decided to reform Medicaid, okay, to keep illegals from getting access to Medicaid, and also on top of that, to reform Medicaid so that people who don't want to work, okay, who don't want to do what is required to actually get Medicaid, they don't get access to it, right? That is where a lot of the reforms to Medicaid come from. That is not going to be undone, right? They're not going to undo that. It literally would cost trillions of dollars to undo that, right? It would result in trillions more dollars in spending, okay, for Republicans to go back and do that. Again, that's why this is a non-starter, right? This is ridiculous.
Fight for the soul of the Democratic Party. So I think that they're between a rock and a hard place on that part of it, whether they come up with some sort of compromise or maybe 10 days, as Chuck Schumer was saying, or whether they just say, shut it down. That's going to be a tough one for the Democrats.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
Yeah.
This is Trump AI attack. It's a video. I'm not going to play the whole video because we don't find it meets our standards or is newsworthy. But I want to show, before I show Jeff.
It's not newsworthy, but you're talking about it, right? If it's not newsworthy, then why are you talking about it, right? Again, MSNBC is a joke, right? They are a huge joke. I don't understand why this channel continues to call themselves news, okay? They're just flat out propaganda for the Democrat Party at this point.
His response, what he put up. It's basically this ridiculous, hateful, kind of bigoted, doctored image. In the video, he has the politicians saying things they don't really say. So we're the news. We're not going to tell you what it is because it's false. We have that standard. But Jeffries felt moved to respond. This is new. Here's what he said to the president.
The next time you have something to say about me, don't cop out through a racist and fake AI video. When I'm back in the Oval Office, say it to my face. Say it to my face.
The leader saying, keep that same energy when you see me.
Yeah.
What do you think of that response? And what is the challenge? And I am not gassing you up when I say that you have experience on both sides. You've done the traditional news thing for a long time. That's how a lot of people know you. You're out on the internet where we know you got to be a little looser and you got to deal with things. You can't just say, oh, I would never touch that, right? Yeah. So what do you think of how Democrats deal with this kind of growing Trump AI attack and that energy?
Well, that was a racist, AI attack. The mariachi band, you heard that, and then the sombrero or whatever, and then, it's bad.
I'm just trying to figure out what's so racist about it, right? To be honest with you, I'm trying to figure out where's the racism. I just find it to be hilarious, right? But again, I'm trying to figure out where's the racism. These people are so soft. They're so soft. These are the same people who run around with jokes and memes about J.D. Vance effing a couch, right? Effing a couch. But they're hurt over some memes of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer in a sombrero. Like, I don't understand. I really don't get it.
What I like is that, I don't have to be a little bit out there. I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to sit around these tables and pretend like this is normal.
Yeah, I don't have to pretend that I'm not a far leftist, right? Don Lemon is admitting that on CNN, he had to pretend like he's not a far leftist, but clearly his bias showed in his coverage of the news, which is part of the reason why he got fired.
How do we have a normal conversation about something that's not normal? What Donald Trump is doing, if you watched him today in Quantico, it's not normal.
No.
So what do you do about the AI generated? That just shows you the ridiculousness of all of this. It shows you how immature this administration is. The fact that Donald Trump or whoever is in charge of whatever department would allow people to post something like that, or he would post something like that, really, not only does it show you the ridiculousness of it, but it takes away any argument of some sort of legitimacy to what they're doing, how they're doing it, and conduct. We're in a whole different territory. So, being out there now on streaming, speaking the truth, I'm loving it because, again, I don't have to pretend like, hey, this is, let's sit around and talk about what Donald Trump is doing. It's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, and these platforms allow for something very different, which we've seen in the politics moving there. The big tech titans are still settling with Trump at the higher level. Here's Google, YouTube paying to settle this lawsuit. This was over something they did consistent with their practices, which was after a violent insurrection. They suspended an account associated with that effort, happened to be Donald Trump's account. Yeah. Doesn't mean you go to jail, but they have these policies. They applied it. Now they're backtracking on that. And then you look at what Trump is doing, his sort of enemies list in the media, trying to censor Kimmel, going after other individuals. And
amazing how this dude is essentially trying to justify YouTube banning the United States president from their platform. But for whatever reason, he's trying to pretend as if somehow, some way, Jimmy Kimmel is being done wrong because he was temporarily canceled. These people are giant hypocrites, and they don't hide their hypocrisy, right? They just show you flat out that when it happens to Republicans, they're fine with it. When it happens to Democrats and liberals, oh, now all of a sudden it's a problem. It's an issue, okay? Yeah, these people, they make me sick.
And the lawsuits where it is working in court. Kimmel's one where you see they went from suspended to reinstated. How do you view all of this, given your experience?
Well, everybody has a terms of service. That's what they call it, right? When you sign up for these sites. Even you working here, you have a term of service.
We have standards and practices.
You have standards and practices.
Sure.
You have to conduct yourself in a certain way.
Yeah, and I think ABC, right, Some of these local broadcasters that were upset with Jimmy Kimmel, yeah, they have standards, right? Now, again, apparently you can have standards when it comes to Republicans. You can't have standards when it comes to liberals, right? Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
These platforms are privately owned platforms, and they can say, this is how you have to conduct yourself, and if you don't, we can kick you off.
Yeah, all arguments that apply to Jimmy Kimmel. But again, Don Lemon was losing his mind over Jimmy Kimmel being temporarily canceled by ABC. But again, listen to him make an argument for why it was okay to censor Trump. I don't understand why these people don't see or hear their own hypocrisy. Like, I don't understand it. I don't get it.
And Donald Trump didn't conduct himself properly. Donald Trump inspired an insurrection. Donald Trump gave misinformation. Inspiring an insurrection, giving misinformation, saying horrible, racist things. All of those things are evidence and that can be used to kick someone, suspend them, or get them permanently barred from a platform. And so Donald Trump did all of that. The only reason I believe that these folks are caving is because they don't want their business interfered with in Washington. They want their mergers and acquisitions.
You think they did follow their terms fairly?
Of course they did.
Anyone, forget ideology, someone who happens to identify as a Democrat who did those violations would also be booted. And you're saying it's...
Well, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Okay, Democrats were not being booted. Okay, the censorship was certainly political. And Google admitted that the Biden administration pressured YouTube, the platform, to censor conservatives or conservative viewpoints that the administration didn't like.
Just corruption from the administration.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm on YouTube. I have to conduct myself a certain way. I can't say the R word. I have to say grape sometimes so that the AI doesn't pick it up.
No, you actually can say the R word, right? If you want to say the R word, that is actually not true.
And think that I'm,
potentially doing something relating to crime. Sure.
You have to be very careful on some of these things. You can't say, you have to say unalived or any of those things because the AI is so sensitive that they have AI monitoring it to make sure that you're not promoting anything that's violent.
And they would say they're erring on the side of trying to do something good. For example, if somebody is worried about influencing people who might take their own life.
Yeah.
They don't want that video up for days. They want to stop it before it starts.
All right, as it relates to free speech in this country, the one thing is that if it promotes violence in any way, then it's not considered free speech.
Yeah.
Someone inspiring an insurrection, would that a violent takeover of the Capitol, trying to change the outcome of an election, spreading human excretions on the walls of the Capitol, stealing things out.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that, okay? Just more hypocrisy from the left. When we don't like your speech, it's totally fine to censor it and to ban it, right? They'll come up with all types of arguments to justify it, right? But when it happens to liberals, all of a sudden, now all of those arguments don't apply, right? It's fascinating how that works. Regardless, Democrats, I think that this is going to backfire, right? I think that the longer that this continues to go on, the Trump administration, they're going to do more, right? They're going to start pulling more levers. They're going to start doing more things to put pressure on Democrats. We're going to see how long they hold out. My gut feeling is that they're not going to hold out for that much longer, but we're going to see. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.